It was an accident, a single moment of confusion, one gesture that meant nothing to a human, but everything to an alien queen. In her culture, touching a fox queen's tail is not a mistake. It is a public declaration of lifelong commitment. Now, the most feared ruler of her species claims we're engaged. Her court is watching my every move. And the galaxy is struggling to understand how a human triggered an ancient royal bond without even realizing it. This is not a story about seduction or power. This is a story about how human awkwardness, honesty, and emotional restraint collided with alien tradition. Accidentally rewrote royal destiny when the galaxy expected fear. It got human sincerity instead. If you enjoy HFY sci-fi stories, alien culture, misunderstandings, and shocking twists where humanity defies every expectation, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. Your support helps bring more original stories like this to life. The day started like any other normal day in his life. He woke up early, checked his phone, and saw reminders about the cultural exchange event he had signed up for weeks ago. At the time, it felt like a good idea. The city had been encouraging humans to attend these events to improve understanding between species. The Fox clan had lived near human cities for years now, but real interaction was still rare. He told himself this was just a simple visit, nothing more. He dressed neatly, choosing plain clothes so he would not stand out. On the ride to the venue, he felt a small knot of nervousness in his stomach. He had read about the Fox clan before, how formal they were, how much they valued tradition. Still, the event organizers had promised it would be relaxed and friendly. Just speeches, food, and polite conversation. The hall was large and bright, filled with soft lights and long banners hanging from the ceiling. Human guests stood on one side, Fox clan members on the other. There was a clear effort to keep everything respectful. Guards were present, but not threatening. Music played quietly in the background, slow and calm. He walked inside, taking in the scene. Some Fox clan members looked just like humans at first glance, except for their ears and tails. Others wore traditional clothing that showed their status. He felt out of place, but tried to stay calm. This was about learning, he reminded himself. After the opening speech, people were encouraged to move around and talk. He stayed near the edge at first, watching others interact. Some humans laughed nervously. Some Fox clan members spoke with gentle smiles. Everything seemed peaceful. Then the room shifted. A subtle change in energy moved through the hall. Conversations lowered. Guards straightened. People turned their heads toward the center. He followed their gaze and saw her. The Fox Queen had arrived. She walked slowly, with confidence that did not need attention but commanded it anyway. Her presence made the air feel heavier, like everyone was suddenly aware they were standing straighter than before. Her attire was elegant, but simple, and her long tail moved calmly behind her. She did not smile much, but her expression was not cold, just controlled. He had not expected to see her so closely. He had assumed she would stay on a raised platform, or behind guards. Instead, she walked among the guests, acknowledging both humans and Fox clan members with small nods. Without thinking, he stepped back slightly to give space. At the same moment, someone bumped into him from behind. It was sudden. He lost balance for half a second and reached out instinctively to steady himself. That was when it happened. His hand brushed against something soft and warm. Not cloth. Not air. He froze. The music stopped. He did not need to look to know what he had touched. His mind caught up instantly, sending panic through his body. Slowly, almost afraid to move, he turned his head. The Fox Queen had stopped walking. Her tail was completely still. The silence in the hall was deep and unnatural, as if even breathing had paused. Every eye was on them now. He felt his heart pounding so loud it hurt his ears. I'm sorry, he said quickly, pulling his hand back as if burned. It was an accident. I didn't mean. He stopped speaking. The Fox Queen turned fully toward him. Her eyes met his, sharp and unreadable. There was no anger in them. No shock either. That made it worse. Whispers spread through the crowd, low and urgent. He heard Fox clan words he did not understand, spoken with alarm. Human guests looked confused, sensing something was very wrong, but not knowing why. One of the Fox clan elders stepped forward, his expression grave. Guards moved, not toward him, but to create space around them. The queen raised her hand slightly. The whispers stopped. She looked at him again, studying his face, his posture, the way he stood frozen in fear. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and clear. "Do you understand what you have done?" she asked. His mouth felt dry. "I touched you by mistake," he said honestly. "I swear it wasn't on purpose." "I didn't know that is enough," she said, not harshly but firmly. The elder beside her turned to the audience and announced something in the Fox clan language. The reaction was immediate. Some looked shocked. Others bowed their heads. A few glanced at him with expressions he could not read: pity, disbelief, something close to sympathy. A human official hurried over, face pale. "What's happening?" he whispered urgently. No one answered him right away. The queen spoke again, this time louder, so everyone could hear. "According to the laws of my people," she said, "this act is a binding declaration." The words echoed in his mind, but he did not understand them yet. "A declaration of what?" he asked, his voice barely steady. She held his gaze. "Of engagement." The world tilted. He shook his head immediately. No, that can't be right. I didn't agree to anything. I didn't even know the rule." There was a murmur among the Fox clan. The elder spoke again, this time in the human language. "Intent does not change meaning," the elder said. "The law is older than memory. Touching the queen's tail in public is a vow witnessed by all." The human official stepped back, stunned. Cameras began flashing as reporters realized something historic had just happened. He felt sick. "This is a misunderstanding," he said, louder now, panic breaking through. "There has to be a way to fix this. I'm just a normal person." The queen watched him carefully. For the first time, something flickered across her expression, not anger. "But wait, responsibility. You may believe this is only your burden," she said quietly, "but it is now mine as well." Guards escorted him away from the center of the hall, not roughly, but firmly. People parted as he passed. Some stared. Some avoided his eyes. He heard his name being whispered, already turning into a story. In a small waiting room, he sat alone, hands shaking. His mind replayed the moment again and again. The bump, the reach, the touch. 1 second had changed everything. He thought about his family, his job, his quiet life. None of it felt real anymore. Outside the room, voices argued softly. He caught fragments: tradition, public, no precedent. Minutes later, the door opened. The queen entered, without guards this time. She stood across from him, maintaining respectful distance. "I know you are afraid," she said. He laughed weakly. "Afraid doesn't even begin to describe it." There was silence between them, heavy but not hostile. "This law was never meant to trap the unknowing," she continued. "But it exists to protect our people's values. Once spoken before witnesses, it cannot be undone easily." He looked up at her. "I don't want to disrespect your people," he said. "But I didn't choose this." She nodded slowly. "Neither did I." That was when he realized something important. This accident had not only taken his freedom, it had taken hers too. And outside that room, the world was already deciding what this moment would mean for both of them. The hours after the incident passed in a strange blur. He was not allowed to leave the building, but he was not treated like a criminal either. Officials moved in and out of the room, speaking in careful tones. Every word felt heavy, like it could change his future if misunderstood. Outside, he could hear distant voices and the sound of cameras, proof that the story was already spreading. A human legal advisor finally sat across from him. She looked tired, rubbing her temples before speaking. "This situation is unprecedented for us," she said honestly. "But for the Fox clan, it's very clear." He leaned forward. "Clear how?" "There has to be some way to explain that it was an accident."
Yes.
She hesitated. "Their laws don't separate accidents from intent in ceremonial matters. Public actions carry meaning no matter why they happen." That answer did nothing to calm him. Later, 2 Fox clan elders entered the room. They moved slowly, with the quiet authority of people used to being obeyed. One carried a thin wooden tablet marked with symbols. The other watched him closely, as if trying to understand him as a person, not a problem. "You are not being judged for harm," the elder with the tablet said. "You are being recognized for a bond." "I didn't ask for a bond," he replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. "That is often how bonds begin," the elder answered. They explained the law in detail. Long ago, the Fox clan had been nearly destroyed by internal conflict. To protect their leadership and prevent careless challenges, strict rules were created. The queen's tail symbolized trust, authority, and continuity. To touch it in public was to declare willingness to stand beside her, to share responsibility, and to be seen by all as bound. "No one has broken this law in living memory," the second elder said, "not because it is feared, but because it is respected." He listened, feeling trapped by history he had never agreed to be part of. "But I'm human," he said. "I don't even understand your customs fully." The elders exchanged a glance. "That does not change what was witnessed," one said. As night fell, he was moved to a secure guest room within the complex. His phone buzzed constantly, but he did not answer. He already knew what it would say. The news had gone public. Clips of the moment were everywhere, slowed down, analyzed, replayed. Strangers argued about his expression, his intent, his future. Some called him careless. Others called him lucky. A few accused him of planning it. None of them knew how terrified he felt. The next morning, he was escorted to a private chamber. The Fox Queen was already there, seated at a low table. No guards stood nearby. The room felt quiet, almost peaceful, which made the situation feel even more unreal. "Sit," she said gently. He did. "I want to speak without ceremony," she continued. "What happened cannot be erased. But understanding matters." He nodded. "I never meant to put you in this position." "I know," she said. Your reaction made that clear. It surprised him. He had expected blame, not acknowledgement. She explained her side. As queen, her life was shaped by expectation. Every public action carried meaning. Every tradition limited her choices. This law, like many others, was created to protect stability, not happiness. When the witnesses saw what happened, she said, the law moved faster than thought. "So what happens now?" He asked. "There will be a formal announcement," she replied. "Our people will accept it as truth. Resistance would cause unrest." "And if I refuse?" Her expression tightened slightly. "Refusal is allowed, but it would mark you as one who publicly rejected our queen. That would not be peaceful." He understood the warning. This was not about force, but consequence. Days passed. He remained under protection, unable to return home. Advisors from both sides debated solutions late into the night. Some suggested symbolic rituals to soften the meaning. Others argued tradition must stand untouched. Through it all, he and the queen met several times. Not as future partners, but as two people caught in a system larger than themselves. Their conversations were careful but honest. She asked about his life. He asked about hers. Slowly, fear turned into understanding, though not comfort. One evening, she spoke quietly. "You see me as powerful," she said. "But in this, I am bound more tightly than you." He believed her. Public pressure grew stronger. The Fox clan expected certainty. Humans demanded explanation. Every delay fueled rumors. Some praised the unity between species. Others warned of danger. Finally, the elders announced the date of the formal engagement declaration. He sat alone that night, staring out a tall window. The city lights below looked distant, unreal. He thought about how one careless moment had placed him at the center of history. He still did not know what choice he would make. But one truth was clear now. This was no longer just an accident. It was a law written long before him, pulling both their lives forward, whether they were ready or not. By the third day, the outside world felt louder than ever, even though he was kept far away from it. Screens in the secure wing showed news channels non-stop. His face appeared everywhere, frozen in the exact second of shock from the event. Commentators slowed the clip, zoomed in, argued over his body language. Some said he looked guilty. Others said confused. A few even claimed they saw intention in his eyes. None of them knew the truth. He stopped watching after a while, but the noise still reached him through conversations in the hallway. Advisors whispered. Guards avoided eye contact. Every step he took felt like it echoed with judgment. Messages from his family finally came through an official channel. Short, careful words filled with worry. They asked if he was safe. They asked if the rumors were real. He wanted to tell them everything, but he did not even understand it himself yet. What hurt the most was how quickly the world decided who he was. Some humans praised him as a symbol of unity. Others blamed him for risking peace. Online arguments grew sharper by the hour. The Fox Clan's networks were no quieter. Elders debated tradition. Younger members questioned old rules. His name was spoken in rooms he would never enter. Inside, he felt smaller every day. That afternoon, he was asked to attend a closed meeting. The room was larger than the others, with a long table dividing the space. On one side sat Fox Clan elders. On the other sat human officials. The Queen sat at the center, not above anyone, but clearly the focus. He took his seat slowly. A human representative spoke first, choosing words with extreme care. We recognize the importance of tradition, she said. But we must also consider consent and intent, an elder responded calmly. Consent was given through action. Intent does not erase meaning. The discussion went in circles. Every point met a wall built centuries ago. He watched the Queen closely. She listened, expression controlled, hands resting still. Only once did her fingers tighten slightly against the table. Finally, she raised her hand. The room fell silent. This discussion speaks about us as symbols, she said, but not as people. All eyes turned to her. I will speak plainly, she continued. This bond was formed without planning from either side. That truth matters. But so does the stability of my people. She turned to him then. You are under pressure. So am I. He nodded. I never wanted attention, he said quietly. I just wanted to go home. The honesty in his voice shifted something in the room. Even the elders looked thoughtful. After the meeting, the Queen asked to walk with him in the inner garden. It was a quiet place filled with stone paths and soft lights. No guards followed closely. The air felt lighter there. They walked in silence for a while. Do you resent me? She asked suddenly. He stopped. No, he said after a moment. I resent the situation, not you. She looked relieved, though she hid it quickly. My life has always been watched, she said, but this is different. Now my future is being argued by strangers. He understood that feeling too well. They sat on a stone bench. For the first time, there was no official reason for the conversation. No advisors listening. Just two people trying to breathe. She asked about his work, his routine, the small habits of his life. He told her about mornings that started quietly, about plans that never reached far into the future. She listened with genuine curiosity, as if trying to remember what freedom sounded like. In return, she spoke about being chosen young, about training that left no space for mistakes, about smiling when tired because the role demanded it. Her voice stayed calm, but the weight of it all settled heavily between them. That night, public reaction reached a new level. Protest groups formed outside government buildings. Some demanded the bond be honored fully. Others demanded it be rejected entirely. Both sides claimed to protect peace. Inside his room, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Sleep came in short, broken pieces. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the moment again, the crowd, the silence, her stillness. By morning, he felt exhausted in a way that sleep could not fix. An advisor visited him with updated reports. Public opinion is splitting, she said. The longer this drags on, the harder it becomes to control. So I'm a problem to manage now. He asked bitterly. She hesitated. You're a reality that doesn't fit our systems. That answer stayed with him. Later that day, he was allowed to make a brief public statement. Cameras lined the room. His hands shook as he stood at the podium. The Queen watched from the side, unreadable. He spoke slowly, choosing simple words. He explained the accident. He acknowledged the Fox clan's traditions. He admitted fear and confusion. He did not deny responsibility, but he did not claim intent either. I ask for patience, he finished, for understanding, for space to find a path that does not harm anyone. Statement spread instantly. Some praised his honesty. Others accused him of avoiding commitment. No words could satisfy everyone. That evening, the Queen sent him a message through the official channel. Just one line. You spoke with dignity. It meant more to him than he expected. As night settled again, he stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. He realized something had changed inside him. The fear was still there, but it was no longer alone. Understanding had joined it. He no longer saw the Queen as a figure of power standing opposite him. He saw her as someone standing beside him in the same storm. And outside, the world continued to argue, unaware that the two people at the center of the noise were quietly learning what it meant to carry a future they never chose. The pressure reached its peak in the days that followed. Every meeting felt heavier than the last. The halls that once seemed calm now carried tension in every corner. People spoke carefully, as if one wrong sentence could cause everything to collapse. He felt it in the way guards stood straighter, in the way advisors avoided long conversations, and in the way silence stretched too long after questions were asked. He was no longer just a person. He was a decision waiting to happen. One morning, he was invited to a strategy meeting with senior advisors from both sides. This time, the room felt colder. Documents were spread across the table, filled with notes and possible outcomes. Each option had consequences written beside it, like warnings. A human advisor spoke first. If he formally refuses, she said, it will create serious tension. Some may see it as public rejection. A Fox clan elder replied calmly, if the bond is denied, the law loses meaning. That creates instability, another voice added. If it proceeds without adjustment, resentment may grow on both sides. They all turned toward him. For the first time, they were not just talking about him, they were asking him. He took a deep breath. What if there's another way? He asked. Something that respects your tradition, but doesn't trap us. The room went quiet. The Queen, who had been listening without interruption, finally spoke. That question is the reason this law must be faced honestly, she said. Not defended blindly. Some elders shifted uncomfortably. Tradition was not something easily questioned. Later that day, the Queen requested a private discussion with the senior elders. He was not present, but he could feel the shift afterward. The atmosphere changed slightly, like a locked door being tested for the first time in years. That evening, she met him again in the garden. There is resistance, she said openly, but also listening. He looked at her, surprised. You're challenging them, Amos, she replied. If this law cannot survive compassion, then it is already broken. Her words stayed with him long after they parted. That night, he thought deeply about his own role. At first, he had only wanted escape. Then he wanted fairness. Now, he realized something else was needed: responsibility. Not blind acceptance, but thoughtful action. He requested a meeting with the elders the next day. When he stood before them, his hands trembled, but his voice stayed steady. I respect your people, he said. I respect your history. But laws should protect lives, not control them. I am willing to stand publicly with the Queen, but not as a symbol forced into place. The elders listened without interrupting. I will not run from this, he continued, but I also will not pretend this was chosen. If the bond moves forward, it should be transformed into something honest. Some elders frowned. Others looked thoughtful. One finally asked, what do you propose? A path that allows choice, he said. A period of reflection. A public acknowledgement that intent matters. The idea was radical, dangerous even. News of these discussions leaked quickly. Public reaction grew intense again. Some Fox clan members supported reform. Others feared it would weaken tradition. Humans were divided too. Some admired his courage. Others accused him of overstepping. He felt the weight of every opinion pressing down on him. The queen, meanwhile, faced her own storm. Some accused her of being too gentle. Others praised her strength. She carried it all quietly, never allowing emotion to show in public. One evening, after a long day, she spoke more openly than before. "I have been taught to endure," she said. "But endurance without change becomes silent suffering." He nodded. "I don't want to be the reason your people hurt." "You are not," she replied. "You are the reason we are finally speaking." As the days passed, a compromise began to take shape. Not everyone agreed, but enough did to prevent collapse. The elders proposed a revised ceremony, not a binding engagement, but a public declaration of mutual respect and future choice. The law would be reviewed afterward, with voices from both generations included. It was not perfect. It pleased no one completely. That made it workable. The announcement was scheduled. Cameras returned. Crowds gathered again. This time, the tension felt different, not explosive, but uncertain. Before stepping out, he stood alone, adjusting his simple clothing. He looked at his reflection and barely recognized himself. The fear was still there, but so was something nourishing. The queen joined him moments later. "Whatever happens," she said quietly, "thank you for not turning away. Thank you for standing with me." They stepped forward together. The statement was read. The revised path was explained. There were gasps, whispers, confusion. Some applauded. Others stayed silent. He spoke briefly, clearly. He acknowledged the mistake, the tradition, and the need for understanding. The queen followed, speaking with calm authority about growth, balance, and shared futures. When it ended, the world did not cheer loudly. But it did not explode either. That night, he returned to his room exhausted. He sat on the edge of the bed, letting the silence wash over him. For the first time since the accident, he felt something close to peace. The future was still uncertain. The bond was not resolved. The law was not rewritten yet, but something important had happened. They had chosen dialogue over fear, and that choice, he realized, might matter more than any law ever written. The days after the public declaration felt strangely quiet, not peaceful, but calm in a careful, fragile way. The crowd slowly thinned. The loud arguments on screens became less intense. People were still watching, still judging, but the sharp edge of panic was gone. He was finally allowed to leave the secure wing. Walking outside felt unreal. The sky looked the same as before, but he felt different beneath it. Every step reminded him that his life had split into two parts, before the accident and after it. He returned to a temporary residence arranged by the council. It was small, simple, and quiet. At night, he sat by the window, listening to distant city sounds. For the first time in weeks, he slept without waking in fear. The queen, meanwhile, faced the harder task. Within the Fox clan, discussions continued day and night. Elders debated wording, meaning, and limits. Younger members asked questions that had never been spoken aloud before. Tradition was no longer something fixed and silent. It was being examined, slowly and carefully. She stood at the center of it all. Some days she looked exhausted, other days steady and calm. She never complained. But when they met privately, the weight showed in small ways, long pauses, quieter words, slower steps. "You've changed things," he told her once. She shook her head. "We have." The review council was formed a week later. Humans and Fox clan members sat together, something that had rarely happened before. Stories were shared. Not argument stories, about mistakes, misunderstandings, and moments when law failed to see the person inside it. He was asked to speak. Standing there, he felt the same nervousness he had felt on the first day. But this time, he was not alone. "I didn't plan any of this," he said simply. "I didn't understand your customs. I learned that laws are not just rules. They are lives." The room stayed silent. "I believe tradition should protect people," he continued, "not trap them in moments they cannot escape." The queen spoke after him. "Our laws were made to guard stability," she said. But stability without compassion becomes fear. We must be brave enough to adjust, or we risk losing what we seek to protect. Her words carried weight. Not because she was queen, but because she spoke honestly. Weeks passed. Kuhn's decision was finally announced. The law would be revised. Touch without intent would no longer be treated as a binding vow. Public meaning would require clear, willing acknowledgement from both sides. The change was careful, respectful, limited, but it was real. When the announcement was made, reactions were mixed. Some celebrated quietly, some disapproved openly. But there was no unrest, no collapse. Life continued. The news felt like a breath he had been holding for too long. The queen met him later that day in the garden where they had first spoken freely. "It's done," she said. He smiled, tired but sincere. "You did it." "We did," she corrected gently. There was a pause between them. The bond that had once felt like a chain now felt different, lighter, undefined. So he asked, "What happens now?" She looked ahead, nodded him. "Now we choose." The engagement, as declared by law, was officially dissolved. No ceremony, no drama, just a formal statement released to the public. But something remained. They continued to meet, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Conversations became easier. Laughter appeared where tension once lived. They spoke about the future, not promises, just possibilities. One afternoon, she asked him, "Do you regret that day?" He thought for a long moment. "I regret the fear," he said, "but not the change." She nodded. "Neither do I." Months later, life slowly returned to something close to normal. He went back to work. People still recognized him sometimes, but the stare softened. The story became history instead of daily news. The Fox clan adjusted to the revised law, was spoken about in schools, in councils, in quiet homes, not as a failure, but as a moment of growth. As for the queen, she stood taller than before. Not because she had one, but because she had listened. On the anniversary of the event, they met once more in the same hall where everything had begun. This time, there were no cameras, no crowds, just space. "Funny how 1 second can change everything," he said. "Yes," she replied. "But it doesn't have to define everything." They walked away from the hall together, not bound by law, not tied by fear. Just two people who had survived a moment that could have broken them and, instead, chose understanding. And in that choice, both their worlds quietly moved forward.